The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
Another episode of the Short Time Wrestling Podcast, news, reviews, previews, and interviews with the notable names in wrestling. Today, we're talking with one of the Cinderella runs from the 2018 NCAA Division I Championships, Ronnie Perry from the Bald Eagles of Lock Haven, All-American as a redshirt senior. Ronnie, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so number 15 seed makes the finals. Let's first just get all this emotion out of the way. I guess describe the run for the people on what it was like for you to go, all right, I'm here. I'm in the finals. First guy for Lock Haven since a guy named Kerry Colat.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, each match was more intense than the last one, and getting through those matches, and then having the support from everybody from Lock Haven, being a guy that it hasn't happened in a while there, so it was overwhelming for sure. It was kind of tough to come down from the matches to get ready for the next ones, but we were able to do that, and it was an incredible run for sure.
To build from there, we're going to backtrack as we get started. We talk about growing up wrestling in wrestling-rich Pennsylvania. You're from southern Lancaster County, Quarryville, Christiana area. You went to Solanco. More than just one Solanco Golden Mule wrestling in the tournament. Thomas Haynes, your teammate, was your teammate in high school, is your teammate now at Lock Haven. Just talk a little bit about what's it like wrestling growing up in Lancaster County and in that part of the country.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool to have. It's been cool to have teammates from high school at the national tournament wrestling together. I wrestled with Dan Neff my senior year at the nationals too. So there's been a couple of times where we've had wrestle together teammates at the national tournament, which is cool. And growing up at Psycho was awesome. I mean, our team was pretty good when I came through there. So it was pretty cool to be a part of something like that. And I think we had like 7 section titles in a row or something like that. I forget, but it was cool. And to be able to grow up with those guys and eventually wrestle at the national tournament together is pretty special to me. And it was cool. I really enjoyed wrestling at Solanco and all the coaches. And I mean, it's kind of similar to Lock Haven. There's the tradition there, and you see people out in the community. They know who you are because you're a wrestler. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Solanco kind of been in the news. It sounds like the wrestling room, underwent some damage with some heavy snow here recently.
Yeah, I saw that. I know. I haven't been back to see it yet, but I know they're going to work. Working on it. The one junior high side's still good, but yeah, the high school side took some damage on the roof, I guess.
Spending the time, I spent 3 years in Lancaster, and as we talked just before we started, by Clipper Magazine Stadium, and Lancaster County is huge. It is literally huge, and it's part of District 3, and a lot of people, when they talk Pennsylvania wrestling, they focus on District 11 with the Eastons, the Nazareths, the Northamptons, the teams of the like, or the WPIAL, the western part of the state. But District 3 has Central Dauphin, among others, but it's always been a powerful district that's so big that it's its own region. What talk about the competition just trying to get through District 3 as a high school athlete?
Yeah, I mean, I always took a lot of pride in being in District 3. I think we got pretty good there for a while, but it was tough. I mean, my sophomore year, I got 4th at the district, and you needed 3rd to get through, and the kid that I lost to for 3rd ended up being in the state semis or something like that. So it was tough. I mean, it was hard to get through our district to get to states. And I think they're taking more than just 3 now in the district because they made the brackets bigger. But it was good. I mean, there was always a lot of good teams with Central Dauphin in there. A lot of tough teams.
You wrestled at 149 pounds this year. You've made the move up. You started your career at 133 pounds. But in high school, the only time you placed at the PIAA state tournament was 7th. And just for those wondering, we talk about the depth of the PA state tournament. Here are some names people might remember or know of that were in that bracket. Sam Crevis, he won that weight. He wrestles for UVA. A guy was second, his name Dalton Macri. You might have heard of him. 3rd that weight that year, Vincenzo Joseph. People might know that guy. He wrestled him in the first round. And then keep going. Zach Valley, Grim Gonzalez. I mean, you've just got some names. Granted, There's some heavy hitter names throughout the course of the bracket, but when you look at your brackets looking back, like, man, like Vincenzo Joseph won my weight class and he's won was third my weight class and he's won 2 national titles. You look back and be like, man, this PA wrestling was tough.
Yeah, we were even talking about that this year because, I don't know, we were all on the van ride out to nationals and stuff. We're just talking about our state brackets and whatever. And it was funny because we were talking about all the guys that were in there. So we were talking about Krivas and Vincenzo and how he beat me up in the first round pretty bad. And then ended up getting third at my weight. And now he's a 2-time national champ. So we were talking about that on the way out this year.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, you want to hear about my bad draw? You know, that's probably not how the conversations go. But when we look at coming out of high school, you know, 1-time place winner, 7th at 120, who was recruiting you and why did you ultimately choose Lock Haven?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Coach Moore. He was the one that mainly had been talking to me, and I don't know. I chose Lock Haven because they're the ones that wanted me to come there, and like I said, my teammate Dan Neff was here too, so I had some familiarity with the people on the team, and I felt like it was a good fit. They had my major. I was business major, pretty good business program, and like I said, I knew some guys on the team already. Coach Moore is a cool guy. He had talked to me a few times, so it was pretty much a no-brainer.
From a financial situation, we know that the Lock Haven's one of 4 schools within the PSAC that are Division II athletic programs that field Division I wrestling. For a lot of in-state students, the cost to attend schools like that makes it very favorable. From the experience of, you know, a lot of people going to come out of college with a lot of debt, it doesn't seem like a state school is going to offer that type of hindrance for you once you graduate and move on. So ultimately, financially, why was Lock Haven a good fit?
Yeah, I mean, financially, it's a lot cheaper than most schools, especially when you're in state. I mean, guys that are PA residents already, it's not a big price to pay for tuition and all that compared to, I mean, you're looking at Penn State, big schools like that, and then if you go out of state, you're paying a lot of extra money. So financially, it's a good pick, especially like I said, if you're in state, it just makes a lot of sense to come here.
Lion's share of the roster is from Pennsylvania, a couple kids from outside of the state, but for the most part, the PA kid has no problem going to Lock Haven. What is the view of those type of programs? Obviously, when you're growing up, you know, guys, you know, Kerry Colott was in the finals. It was a while ago. You weren't that old last time he was in the finals, but when you look at the reputation of Lock Haven, even though there was a lull from those Colott era years where the team was battling for team trophies, why is a school like Lock Haven attractive for in-state students? Same, I guess, goes with Bloomsburg, Clarion, et cetera, but Edinburgh. Why is Lock Haven something that's like, yeah, I have no problem going to Lock Haven to wrestle?
Yeah, I mean, well, one, like you said, the financial part of it, I mean, you're not going to come out with a bunch of debt like you are if you're going to some bigger schools or some out-of-state schools. And the PA, like, they do a really good job of recruiting in PA. I mean, that's where we get most of the guys, and that's where most of the guys in the starting lineup are PA guys for us anyway. So, I mean, you see that. And then another thing was I felt like I had a good shot to at least to get out there, start, and then continue to get better and, you know, achieve some of my goals of getting into the national tournament, being an All-American, stuff like that. So you feel like you have that shot coming here to a smaller state school like we are. But like I said, I mean, they do a really good job of recruiting in state. And like you said, that financial responsibility isn't like it is where you're at those bigger schools or out-of-state schools and things like that.
When you look at your I guess, improvement as a wrestler, 7th once at 120, and 29 pounds later, you're wrestling Zane Rutherford in the NCAA finals. Where did you start noticing your jumps? Where did you start noticing a marked improvement in your wrestling?
Honestly, it was my freshman year. I started out at 25 my freshman year here, and when I came in, I was getting beat up. I took lumps just like everybody does when they come in, and I got tired of getting beat up, so I just worked out a lot. I mean, I got in 3 times. Sometimes I was in the room 3 times a day getting individuals in, and it wasn't always like hard workouts, but it was technique stuff and working stuff like that. So I just felt like the more I was on the mat, the better I was getting, and I started seeing improvements. And then when you start seeing improvements like that, it's easy to stay motivated to continue to learn and get better. So that's what, I mean, I just focused on, I was on the mat a lot, especially my first 2 years. And that's when I noticed the biggest gains, whereas in those first 2 years. And then once you make those gains and stuff, you start getting some confidence and thinking that all right, now I can be the guy that goes out and does that stuff. So, it was definitely my first 2 years was where I made the biggest improvements.
That sophomore year, you had a notable win. You won the conference. You beat AJ Shop of Edinboro. And a lot of people seem to not really give that win credence because he had a serious knee injury. He ultimately ended up finishing third that year after losing in the first round. But just go back in time. Do people even still bring that up? Because that's one that's like, no, dude, he beat Shop a couple years ago, man. He's always been decent. It seems like that win was forgotten.
People bring it up sometimes, but like I said, a lot of people kind of wrote it off too because they were talking about his knee injury and stuff like that. But I don't know. For me, it gave me a lot of confidence, and it kind of solidified the fact that I can be the guy and I can compete with those guys. So, especially back then, that was one of my first big wins. So, it gave me a lot of confidence, and it ultimately sent me to nationals for the first time too. So that was something that I was really proud of. But yeah, people bring it up every now and again, but obviously not lately because of what just happened. But it was good, and it gave me a lot of confidence for sure.
I remember Eric Thompson, who, for those who are trying to struggle with the name, he was a three-time NAIA champion at Grandview, spent some time coaching there at Lock Haven. I remember after that, he goes, "Hey, man, how about little Ronnie Perry?" He was calling you little Ronnie Perry. And, of course, you're like an overgrown 25-pounder at that point, wrestling 33. And then you redshirt. And then comes the day, and I'm an Old Dominion graduate, so I'm friends with Thompson, so I see the draw, and I see McCarty at 1, and I see unattached Ronnie Perry. I'm like, I don't like that. And I'll be quite honest with you. I'm like, I don't like that draw. I don't like that draw. And all of a sudden, and then you beat McCarty, who's a 2-time All-American from Old Dominion. You have a pretty solid red shirt year. What did you get out of that red shirt year beyond just the solid wins at the Midlands?
Yeah, well, it let me. I went up to 41 that year, so I wasn't cutting a whole lot of weight. So I kind of grew into the weight class during that year, and but it was a good year. I enjoyed the wrestling that year. It wasn't the grind of the normal season as a redshirt, so that was good. And it just gave me time to work on some things that technique-wise that I need to work on. It gave me some time to relax a little bit because I had started my first 2 years. And then it gave you kind of gave me a little bit of a break that year, as far as from the season and everything like that. So it let me mature physically too, which is good because I was always obviously a late bloomer from wrestling 25 my first year in college, and then I ended up at 49. So it just gave me some time to mature physically, work on some technique, and kind of enjoy the sport.
Now we look back at that Midlands because you get the win to make the semifinals. You run into a guy, oddly enough, another guy from Grandview at that point, Andrew Long, who had had success at the Division I level. And then comes the triple dip. But you get Andrew Long, then you've got, okay, I'm going to drop down. Okay, here comes Kevin Jack. Here comes Matthew Kolodzic. And interestingly enough, you end up beating Kolodzic in the tournament. But, looking at that line, that's a nationals type of draw. Boom, boom, boom. In hindsight, do you think you learned anything from that experience?
Yeah, definitely. You start wrestling guys of that caliber right in a row. It's tough, but that's what you kind of have to get used to, especially at the national tournament, because you're not going to wrestle anybody that's easy. There's no easy matches at the national tournament. So yeah, I definitely got something out of that for sure. Wrestling, the more I wrestled those guys, the better I felt about it the next time around anyway. So, but yeah, it was a tough draw that second day for sure. But it definitely gave me some. I took my losses there, but it gave me some confidence as far as I knew I was competing with everyone. So I knew if I just kind of worked on some stuff, and I would be there soon enough.
Going into this tournament as a 15 seed, you look at your season. Okay, yeah, he's only got 3 losses, but 2 of them are to guys from Oklahoma State who didn't even make the tournament. Granted, one was a returning All-American and then a loss to Dane Robbins. But you look at your wins, you really didn't have that marquee win. So going into the tournament, did you feel like you were maybe underappreciated as a 15, or do you think that's where you should have been?
Yeah, obviously I feel like I was maybe underappreciated a little bit, but I can't you can't blame anybody. If I showed up for the matches I needed to and won. I mean, I won the matches that I was wrestling in. You know what I mean? I didn't exactly get to wrestle the huge marquee matchups at many points of the season, but yeah, I mean, I took some losses. We figured some stuff out, and then I mean, I think I won like 18 matches in a row heading into the tournament. So it wasn't like I didn't think that I should be a 4 seed or something like that, but I didn't, you know what I mean? I think I could have been higher, but that's just where I was, and that's what I had to deal with. So
yeah, 18 going into the finals, which is quite impressive. Now, looking at those wins, first one right off the bat, Cortland Schuyler, Lehigh, another Lancaster County kid. He wrestled at Manheim Township. His dad was the coach of Franklin and Marshall for a long time and an All-American Lehigh. I'm guessing, had you and Court crossed paths at all in your youth wrestling in the same county?
We actually never wrestled before that match. Yeah, so he was always a little bigger than me in high school. But yeah, we had never wrestled before that. It was funny though, because out of all the draws, it was going to be an LL kid right away, which is funny. Yeah.
So I mean, how well did you guys know each other prior to the match?
Yeah, I mean, we knew of each other, and our teams battled a lot in high school. So we had talked. We talked when we were at tournaments and stuff like that before, but we had never actually wrestled each other or anything like that. So
then you go in, and then probably the biggest upset of that particular round. As a 2 seed falling, you knock off Brandon Sorensen, who ends up becoming a 4-time All-American. And a lot of people still talk about that Iowa mystique in the singlet. I mean, is there nerves when you step on a mat across from a black and gold singlet?
I think there can be, but I think that was one of the things that I did well in the tournament, was just staying relaxed and focused on wrestling instead of the singlet I'm wrestling, the round I'm wrestling in, or even the tournament I'm wrestling. And it was kind of, I think you can let those nerves take over a little bit, and that's when you don't wrestle as well. So I think I did a really good job of staying relaxed and confident throughout the tournament, which definitely helped me wrestle to my potential for sure.
What was the game plan going into that match with Sorensen? It was a 1 takedown match. You scored pretty late in the match, and ended up holding off the late charge there 3-2. But guy like Sorensen, how do you attack? How do you prepare for a guy like him?
Yeah, he's a guy that holds good position. He's a really good hand fighter, and he's really strong too. So it was kind of we came with a game plan to just staying in the outside, level changing, moving. I felt like I was quicker than him. I felt like I was quicker than anybody at the weight, to be honest. So we were just kind of staying to the outside and getting to like my outside attacks. And it was hard. I mean, it's hard. He stays in good position. He stayed in good position the whole match. So it was kind of, we just needed to keep my distance a little bit. I didn't want him to get into his ties there, because he's really good once he gets to his ties. So we were just kind of staying out of his stuff and level changing, moving my feet, hands, just kind of doing the stuff that I do and not wrestling into his style.
Can you feel the crowd, even though it's not Carver Hawkeye, for example, but can you feel that Iowa crowd on you? Is there, okay, it's 1-1, and they're yelling stall, and they're all over guys if they're not attacking, or if they feel that somebody is not attacking against their guy. What's it like to kind of feel that pressure of a crowd at the NCAA championships in a moment like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because they have a lot of people there, and they're knowledgeable, and they know what to yell at what times and stuff. So, it's hard, but at the same time, you kind of got to block that. You can't let it get to you, because if you start playing into their stuff, that's what they want. So, it was just kind of sticking to the game plan the whole time, and eventually it's going to pay off. And it is hard, because you do feel it. You feel the whole crowd in Cleveland. It doesn't even just have to be the Iowa fans. You feel everybody there, it's pretty crazy.
And guys that are 15 seeds tend to be, they become fan favorites throughout the course, especially, and they keep winning. We see that with a lot of sports, especially even basketball, when a low seed wins. Loyola making the Final Four run as an 11 seed this year in that round ball. But, when you get the win, and then the whole crowd's for you, except for the section wearing black and gold. I mean, how much time do you have to take in a moment like that? It's not the quarters. You're not an All-American yet. You still got another match to win to become an All-American. So how much did you have a chance to kind of savor? I'd just be the number 2 seed at the Nationals, and everybody in this building is pretty much cheering for me.
Yeah, no, it was cool, and you gotta take a little bit of time to yourself to enjoy it a little bit, because I mean, what's the point if you're not going to? So, yeah, you could. I mean, right away it was I mean, you're hearing everybody, and everybody's going pretty nuts. So you gotta enjoy it, and then you gotta move on to the next one, because like you said, I mean, you got another match until you're an All-American anyway. So, yeah, you gotta take a little bit of time, enjoy it, and then you can get right back to the goal.
Then you wrestle Jason Surtis, a guy that's been in the NCAA finals. He's finished as a 3-time All-American. He's been a national champion. And a guy that's notoriously hard to score on, yet Ronnie Perry didn't have a problem scoring on Jason Surtis. Was it a matchup situation? I mean, what made you so efficient in that bout?
Yeah, again, it was the same thing. I felt like, I mean, he kind of wrestler similar to Sorensen as far as, he's very strong, kind of gets to his ties. So again, I thought same game plan. I mean, moving our feet, level changing, staying outside. I felt like I was the quicker out of the two. So it was the same thing. I mean, it just getting to my setups, my ties, and then hitting my shots and slide bys, the stuff that I do well. And it could have been a matchup thing. I don't know, but yeah, I felt good. I got to a lot of attacks that match. So
then you come into the semifinals. I mean, you're an All-American. You've beaten Surtis. You're in there. You know you're going to place. And then how much were you paying attention to that top half of your draw? With Kolodzic coming out and ends up being the 11 seed. He's going to be your opponent. I mean, how much time do you have to spend to look and be like, okay, matches are ending around the same time. You're like, who am I wrestling? How soon did you know you'd be wrestling Kolodzic in the semis?
Yeah, I didn't know for a little while afterwards, because I was just kind of we had Chance Marsteller, All-American, that was the semis. But yeah, so after the quarters, I hung out. I didn't really know until probably a half hour after that. I didn't really look at the brackets much. I think one of my coaches told me that he had won, so that's who I have next. But it was just focus up, get ready for that match, go back, relax at the hotel. Yeah, but I didn't know for a little while. It wasn't something that I was like kind of looking around for. I was just trying to enjoy the moment there.
That break between the quarterfinal win and the Friday night semifinal, you said you go back, you cool down. What is your process? What does Coach Moore put you through in that situation, or does he put an assistant on to make sure that that time is that time is well spent? I mean, that's not an opportunity a lot of people actually get, is that, okay, now I'm prepping for the semifinals. How do you prep for a semifinal?
Yeah, so, Coach Moore, they did a good job. I mean, they got me right after the quarters, got me right back to the hotel so I could clean up and relax and get some food in me, some stuff, get ready to go. And then they just kind of let me come down from, another big win, let me kind of relax, get down from that, and then focus on the match ahead, and kind of turn my phone off, relax, take a nap, because I don't know, I didn't like getting caught up in all this social media stuff right away, because I feel like it just kind of drains you. So that was just something I made sure I just kind of put my phone on the other side of the room, relaxed, watched a little TV. But no, they did a really good job making sure they got me back to the hotel right away and getting ready for the semifinals.
Do you remember what you watched at the hotel?
No, not in between. I forget. Maybe the Food Channel. I'm not sure.
That's like the go-to. I don't care where you are, who you are. If you're spending like an hour in a hotel, you're like, oh, what's on Food Network? You end up sucked into Chopped or Guys Grocery Games or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're going to talk about food here in a little bit, because there's some things about Lancaster County that I do miss that I need to get your expert opinion on. But moving forward into the finals,
right.
Zane Rutherford, the 1 seed, hasn't lost in like 90-something matches. Has won the Hodge. He won it again after this. And a lot of people have pretty much written this off as the team race. Go, well, Zane's going to get bonus here, so we can. They're almost looking at at least not in maybe your circles, but I'm hearing how people are doing the math. Okay, well, how can Penn State win? How can Ohio State win it? And it's almost like they're penciling in Zane Rutherford for bonus points here. On the first part, can you blame them? And on the second part, what did you do to basically kind of shut them up and wrestle your match?
Yeah, you can't blame him. I don't care who he's wrestling. You can't blame him for saying that. And I'm sure if I'm him, the same people that are cheering for me are saying the same thing. You know what I mean? So I mean, the guy's one of the best that's ever wrestled in college, and this year, I mean, obviously he bonused just about everyone he wrestled this year. So yeah, I mean, I knew people were saying that, and I didn't really care. It was just like I said, I wrestled him this summer a little bit up at New Leon Wrestling Club, so it was nice to have a feel for it before the finals, because we didn't wrestle in college or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, it was the same game plan really. It was sticking to my stuff, wrestling stuff. I knew that I could get out on from bottom. I felt really confident in the bottom position, and I have pretty much my whole college career. So I knew that wasn't going to be an issue as far as that stuff, and I think that's where he mostly makes his money, is on top. So, but no, I felt good. I felt confident about that, and it was just kind of we watched some film a little bit, but at the end of the day, it was just kind of the same thing we'd been doing the whole tournament.
Had you ever crossed paths with Zane as a youth?
No, I never wrestled him. The first time probably I ever wrestled him was this summer up in Disneyland.
So ESPN's Quint Kesnick, it kind of made some people chuckle, asking when he had his interview with Zane off the sides, like, how strong is your grip? How strong are your forearms? And he's like, I don't know. I don't wrestle myself. So we'll wrestle you. How strong is Zane Rutherford from those positions?
Yeah, I mean, he's strong. I mean, I don't think it's something that's like ungodly strong. I mean, he's just as strong as that Circus or Sorensen or anybody else you wrestle in the national tournament. I mean, but he knows the positions that he's good at, and he knows the positions that he's strong in, and that's where he puts himself. I think that's what makes him so good.
When you look at film, and actually I want to go back to the Kolodzik match first. Did you go back and look at that 2015 Midlands tape at all? I mean, he wasn't even in college yet. He was deferred year, so he's unattached. But anything from those matches, or that match specifically, from a couple years ago, that you looked to be like, okay, if I'm wrestling him again, I'm going to have to correct this?
Yeah, I didn't actually look at any film on that one, but I did remember a few things that I struggled with in those matches, and that was something that I was aware of wrestling him this year. I mean, he's got really good hips, so even when you get to his leg, he's very tough to finish on, and I remember I struggled with that the last times we wrestled, so I was really aware of that going into the match, and I struggled the first two periods finishing on him. I got to his legs a couple times, but yeah, I knew that stuff was something I had to focus on going into the match, but I didn't actually watch like any film on those matches.
And with Zane, you know, when you get a feel on somebody like that for the first time, I mean, you'd said you'd seen it up in clubs. So in the club practices, are you guys wrestling mostly freestyle, or is it folk style? Or are you going in there like, I can get my hands on him because I'm going to have to run into this guy to win a national championship?
We wrestled mostly freestyle actually then, because pretty much everyone was training freestyles. I think it was before universities. So we were all wrestling freestyle, but either way, I mean, wrestling's wrestling. It was still a good feel, and it was fun. We had a good time wrestling, so.
When we look at the program, and we've spent a lot of time talking about you here, but there's a notable rise of what's going on in Matttown. Scott Moore was, you know, one of the most prolific pinners, especially during his senior year as a grad student at the University of Virginia. And what's it been like to be part of this I guess, rebirth of Lock Haven Wrestling with Scott Moore at the helm?
Yeah, it's awesome, and that's something I'm really proud of too. To come up through, like, I think it's awesome to come in as a freshman when Coach Moore's getting his first year as head coach, and the program, and it is really coming along, and we have really good coaches, alumni, and the community support, but they're getting guys in here. Guys are buying into the program and working hard, and it's obviously showing. We had 2 All-Americans this year, 6 national qualifiers, which is the most we've had in a while, ever since I was here. So it's really cool to be a part of, to see the support growing, and the program growing itself. I mean, it's really fun to be a part of.
When you walk into that Lock Haven wrestling room, for those who are unfamiliar, you walk in, it's an old field house, and then off to the right as you walk in the main doors, you've got wrestlers, portraits along the wall before you even go into the wrestling room, and you see the importance and the history and the tradition of Lock Haven wrestling. How much do you guys carry that with you as a team?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely carry that with us. I mean, you see that when you walk into the field house, and then you hear that when you talk to somebody about Lock Haven wrestling when you're at the grocery store, or you're talking to the older alumni. I mean, you really feel that tradition all the time, and that's something that we take a lot of pride in too, because we want to get back to that. We want to get back to the winning ways of Lock Haven wrestling, and I think we're well on our way right now.
One thing that's kind of followed the program has been the incoming transfers of Thomas Haynes, who was at Ohio State, a 4-time state champion from Solanco, and then Chance Marsteller, whose exploits have, I guess, been well documented in the wrestling media. Chance finished 4th, and from the time he first stepped on campus, then ran into some issues, to the time that he's standing on the podium, what have you noticed about Chance Marsteller as a person and as a teammate?
Yeah, I mean, he got here, he ran into some trouble there, and then came back and just kind of put his head down and worked hard, and has done the right things so far, and it's obviously paying off with a 4th place finish. And Chance is a guy that I worked out with pretty much almost every day of the season, so you can see that working with guys like that and guys that are working together like that, it pays off in the long run, for sure. And yeah, no, he came back. He put his head down. He's been working hard, doing well in school, and it's obviously paying off right now.
With Chance bringing, I guess, a lot of attention to the program, does that take a little bit of pressure off guys like you, who, you were 7th in the state one time? He was an undefeated 4-time Pennsylvania state champion. A lot of people are going to be focusing on what he's doing on the mat versus what you're doing on the mat.
Yeah, I mean, it does a little bit. I mean, I think the pressure, I don't necessarily get the pressure from stuff like that. I more put pressure on myself than anything, because regardless of what I did in high school, I felt like I was good enough to do things in college. So I think the pressure more comes from myself and everything. But yeah, he gets a lot of attention from the community outside and stuff like that because of what he did in high school and things like that. So I think sometimes he feels that a little bit, and it does take some pressure off me and the other guys a little bit, but it's something that he deals with well, and I think that he's pretty used to.
One of the guys that's in that room every day, Nate Carr Jr., he a great wrestling family, great lineage that's actually rooted in Pennsylvania. When you got a guy like Nate Carr Jr. as an assistant coach, a guy you probably roll around with based on your proximity and size, and a guy that doesn't have the credentials that even other members of his family do. I've talked to Nate about his desire to coach. What does he bring to the table for an athlete that's looking to break through to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, well, his attitude all the time is so good. He's so positive, uplifting. He always makes things fun for you. I mean, you're never going to get the same thing with him. He's always like lifting you up and making sure everyone's in a good mood, and does a really good job with the mental side of things. We worked a little bit in the classroom this year, actually, during the season, about just the mental side of wrestling and being ready to compete. And he's fun to wrestle with, man. He's really good. We wrestled a good bit during the season too. So yeah, no, he's always bringing that. He brings a really good energy to the room, and I think that helps everybody work hard and stay motivated.
Now I'm going to shift gears over to back to Lancaster County, because anytime I get somebody from the 717 on the show, I want to talk, because I only lived there 3 years, but it was 3 of like the greatest years of my life, because I got to experience scrapple. I got stuck behind horse and buggies. I driving through Lampeter, Strasburg, and playing disc golf at different places. And, I just really enjoyed my time in Lancaster. And a lot of that also deals with shooting darts at places like, the Swan Hotel in Quarryville. Let's just, for people that don't know, actually, that's probably most people listening to the show, explain that part of Lancaster County. It's not just all horse and buggies. There's a lot of farmland, but you get these little towns along the way, like a Ronks Township, and then, up near Millersville and Lampeter and Strasburg, those areas. How do you describe the lifestyle in Quarryville and in Christiana and near Solanco?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you get the best of both worlds, I think. You can go up into the Atlantic City and explore all that kind of life and like a little bit of the city life. They have all their neat little shops and restaurants, cafes. I mean, you got a bunch of stuff up there. And then you can still, 20 minutes outside the city, you're behind Amish buggies and dairy farms and smelling all the smells that comes with. And you have all these little dairy stores and stuff like that. So it's something that I really enjoyed growing up. And I mean, you get the best of both worlds there. You can drive down dirt roads and all this stuff to the farms, and then you can go into the city with your friends and explore all of that. So it's just something that it offers so much, and I think that's why most people love it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that was one of my favorite places. Granted, the most beautiful place I've ever lived was Colorado Springs, but I really enjoyed my time in Lancaster because I lived right in the city, actually really close to Franklin and Marshall. For those who don't know, that's actually right there in the city of Lancaster. Other things that I'm curious about is you talked about the smells. How about the smell of, like, I don't know, the Turkey Hill iced tea, right now over in Conestoga?
Oh yeah, Turkey Hill. They're all over down there. And then you got the sweet little the Maplehoff dairy store down in Swanker right next to the high school, man. They have the best chocolate milk, I think, in the country, probably. I'd vouch for it.
Have you ever made it to the Whoopie Pie Festival?
No, I don't think I ever have.
Yeah.
I get the Whoopie Pies from Maplehoff right down the road from the high school. They're probably the best I've ever had.
This might explain your rise from 120 to 149 pounds at off seasons where you put on that weight.
Yeah, I think so. I think that might have something to do with it.
So if you have to go, if somebody's on a business trip to Quarryville, of all places, and they have to go one spot to eat, where's a place you would recommend for them?
Oh, they're going to have to go to Dottie's, probably. A little sandwich shop right in Quarryville, right by the main light in the town.
The main light.
It's really, it's so
you hear
good.
that, people?
The main one light.
The main light. Just
yeah, it's good. It's awesome. And then after you go there, you got to take a trip down to Maplehoff, get some chocolate milk. I think that's probably two that you got to go to.
I'm writing that down, Maplehoff, because I'd actually never heard of Maplehoff.
Yeah, you need to. You need to take a trip back and go get stuff too.
Well, the thing is, because my wife and I are thinking about taking, because I'm announcing the Final X out in Bethlehem, and we've got friends out in Lancaster County we'd like to see. And I'm like, you know what? That might have to be a detour because.
Oh yeah.
We did. We actually, believe it or not, this is a side story. I don't know if you have any interest in this, but 8 years ago, my wife and I got married. We go to Aruba for the honeymoon. Then I've got my house in Lancaster County that I'm trying to sell. So 4 days in Aruba, 3 days in Lancaster, and this is our honeymoon. The only hotels that were available that we could get were out in Strasburg, and it was 2 twin beds. So it was this old Amish type of hotel, like building. It was like an old like plantation type. It was like, you're kidding me. Twin beds. Honeymoon. Yeah. Welcome to Lancaster
honeymoon,
County.
2 twin beds. That's hysterical.
Like, yeah.
Oh, man.
But as we look forward at your career, you talked about your business major at Lock Haven. What do you want to do with, I guess, this is a question everybody asks, what do you want to do with your life?
Well, I mean, I really want to coach the next few years. So I think that's definitely something I'm going to get into to start with, and build my network a little bit, and then eventually maybe move on to a business job or something of that nature. But yeah, I definitely want to coach right away because I've had so many great relationships with coaches, and they've helped me so much in becoming the person I am. So I kind of want to give back. I want to give that back to the sport for sure. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to right away.
Is that something you feel that makes Pennsylvania wrestling that much better, and why everybody's looking to pull in kids? Because when guys end up as college All-Americans, they want to go back. They go back to their hometowns or their home areas, and then they coach wrestling. And it's not just like the same system. It's like, all right, well, I was an All-American at Lock Haven, and I'm back in my area, and then you get to train the next group of kids that comes through. How much truth do you think there is to that theory that that's why Pennsylvania wrestling is usually head and shoulders above the rest of the field?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I think it's a big cycle. I mean, you got really good wrestlers that go back to coach, and then they breed really good wrestlers who also want to come back, and it's a big cycle. I think everyone has such a good relationship with their coaches, and there's so many there's just a rich tradition of wrestling in Pennsylvania. So everyone, it puts everything they have into it all the time, and see all these high school and club coaches in Pennsylvania. They put all of their time into helping these kids and developing them to be better wrestlers. And I think that's just a big cycle that continues to go through Pennsylvania. I think that's one of the reasons why Pennsylvania is probably the toughest wrestling state, I'd say.
When you look at your run in hindsight, and then you look at your high school career, 7th one time, Pennsylvania, District 3. There's actually another kid I know that kind of has that same pattern. It was Ryan Williams, who, again, there's another Old Dominion reference for you. He was 7th in the state as a junior, made the NCAA finals out of Cumberland Valley. But is there any type of model or anybody that you kind of molded your career after, be like, you know what, I like how this guy wrestles. I want to wrestle in a style like that because I feel it's fun. I feel it's something that works with how I go.
Yeah, I mean, I was always attracted to the guys that put up a lot of points and score a lot. I don't know. I was always, that's typical because I think it's exciting and people want to see that. So there wasn't exactly one guy that I wanted to wrestle exactly like, but I kind of wanted to be the exciting guy. I wanted to be the guy that people like to watch. So that was definitely something that I always look to do in my wrestling is score points and be excited, be the guy that everybody wants to watch.
Well, 18 bonus victories on the year. That pretty much, yeah, I'd say you did a pretty good job at that. All right. Now, as we wrap things up, the last thing I want to ask about Lancaster County, how do you eat your scrapple? I pan fry it. Pan fry ketchup? What do you got on that?
I usually put it on a sandwich. I use scrapple egg and cheese sandwich usually. That's my go-to.
Okay, yeah, none of that sounds healthy at all. And if you don't know what scrapple is, just Google it. Ronnie Perry, any final thoughts about, I guess it's kind of hard to sum up a career that's gone from, 125-pounder, just, 7th in the state in high school, going into Lock Haven to NCAA finalist in just 40 minutes. But if you had to put a bow on it, what are some things that you felt you learned across the way that's something that's always going to follow the story of Ronnie Perry? Yeah, just hard work. You can get anywhere you want to go with some hard work, a little motivation, and surrounding yourself with good people. So I'm excited to see Lock Haven continue to get better and be on the rise, and I'm super happy that I was a part of it. The Short Time Wrestling Podcast is proudly outfitted by Compound Clothing. Shirts, singlets, custom gear orders, everything you need. Call up Cliff and the crew at cmpteamwear.com. First time listening? Well, you can change that by going to matttalkonline.com/getshorttime to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or listen on your favorite podcatcher at matttalkonline.com/listen.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to matttalkonline.com.